Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Thanksgiving, or that has just passed for my American friends. I know that you guys had your Thanksgiving last Thursday. I think the 22nd, 23rd, last Thursday. So I just wanted to say a belated Happy Thanksgiving to you. Canada has their Thanksgiving at the end of October, middle to the end of October. So we've already had ours. And I don't know about you guys, but for the last, actually since Canadian Thanksgiving, I have been bombarded with emails and advertisements for Black Friday. Now, for those of you living in other parts of the world outside of North America, you may be wondering, what the heck is Black Friday? Well, Black Friday is an American tradition that started a long time ago, and there's different stories as to why it's named Black Friday. One story I read was that the day after Thanksgiving was the day that retail stores went from being in the red to being in the black as far as profits for the year, but I don't know if that's true or not. But it was an American thing, and Canada never had Black Friday. I'll go into what Canada had in a second. So Black Friday was, again, the Friday after Thanksgiving, and is considered the busiest shopping day in the U.S. It's when retailers would mark down things dramatically. There were door crasher specials, all of those things. And, I think we've all watched the footage from years ago where grown adults would be trampling over other people, grabbing items out of other people's hands, throwing total tantrums in stores, bricks and mortar stores, for deals. People would, and still do, wait out for hours and hours prior to store openings so that they could be first in line to get these deals. And it wasn't a thing in Canada up until about 2017, I think, or was it 2013? But the mid to early 2010s, when the Canadian dollar got to be on par with the American dollar. All of a sudden, Canadians could partake in Black Friday. They could buy from stores in the US. Canadian retailers got on board and started to have Black Friday sales for us, which is odd because it's just a Friday. It's not a Friday after anything for us here in Canada. But so all of a sudden, Black Friday became a big deal here as well. What I find so interesting, first I'll tell you what the traditional Canadian version of Black Friday would be. And that was Boxing Day here in Canada. For Canadians, Boxing Day was the big deal day. So the day after Christmas, after having spent a hopefully lovely Christmas with your family, and we used to do this as well. When I was married, and we would be at my in-laws' place for Christmas. They weren't far from Edmonton. Boxing Day, we would head into West Edmonton Mall, the biggest shopping mall, at least at the time, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And even if we weren't buying anything, it was just tradition to go. But again, people would line up, people would get there early, stores would have their employees come in at ridiculous early hours so they could mark down products so that they could have these sales. And again, it was basically a feeding frenzy. Just like Black Friday was in the US, Boxing Day was like that in Canada. And I always found it so interesting. While I enjoyed going out and seeing what was out there, I rarely bought anything. And I always found it interesting when I looked at the US and Canada, but that there would be a day of celebration, of Thanksgiving, of appreciation for what you had, of this sort of communal family time or friend time. And then the next day, all hell would break loose. The footage, the stories, the news stories about people just basically going animal to get these deals of things that they probably didn't want before, but all of a sudden saw on sale. It was just crazy to me. But it was limited to one day. And for Boxing Day, it's still, though now we have Boxing Week sales, Boxing Month sales. So it's like not just the 26th of December. Now it lasts for the whole week, and some stores will have it go right through January, which is ridiculous. But with Black Friday, because it's the same here now in Canada. Black Friday now is a big thing here in Canada. Cyber Monday is a big thing here in Canada. I don't know what happens on Saturday and Sunday, but I'm sure there's a name for the shopping days on that. Retailers are now marking down their products well in advance of Black Friday. Those sales continue on for long periods of time. And the frenzy, the feeding frenzy that happens around this time of year, I find fascinating, because I'm a studier of human nature, and a little bit saddening. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying you shouldn't buy anything, and I'm certainly not saying you shouldn't take advantage of any sales that happen this time of year. I have, and will continue to, put things in my shopping cart and will leave electronically things that I was already going to buy or was considering buying, and I will let them sit there. And then I will wait for Amazon Prime Day or Black Friday or Cyber Monday to see if the prices come down. If they come down and I was going to buy it anyways, I will buy it. Sometimes I'll put things in my shopping cart that I kind of want, but they're a little too expensive, and I'll wait to see if they're on sale. And then if they go on sale and I can justify it, then I will buy it. If they don't, more often than not, then I just take it out of the shopping cart. So I'm not saying don't buy anything. Obviously, we're all grown adults here. If you want to buy something and you can afford it, go ahead, right? Like, I'm not going to tell you what to and not to do, but I find the psychology of this whole Black Friday phenomenon so interesting and kind of concerning. Things changed when it came to Black Friday and bricks and mortar stores when the pandemonium happened. Obviously, we couldn't go into retail stores in person, so that really boosted the presence of these online retailers. And I think that changed. Like, we no longer hear or see the stories of people trampling other people, at Best Buy to get the TV, or swiping a toy out of one parent's hand because they want it for their kid and they're all gone off the shelves. We don't see that so much anymore, because now people do their shopping online. And so it's easy to think that frenzy is not quite the same, but it is still the same. Now it's just hidden, and that is kind of concerning to me as well, because we used to people would have to go and in person to these stores and basically, elbow people out of the way, arm wrestle people to get these items if they really wanted them. Now we just click a button. And because of the frenzy that has built up so far in advance, and the marketing is so clever, right? But we are all cash strapped. We are all dealing with high inflation and the price of goods and services being ridiculous. And so retailers are being very clever about how they're marketing things, because people all want to save money. We all want to deal. And we all want to be able to afford the things for ourselves and our families that we used to be able to afford when the economy was in a better position. And I'm not saying that retailers are evil, but they don't care about us. They care about their stockholders, their share price, their profit margin. And again, that's legitimate. They're businesses. They're not charities. They're in the business of making money for themselves, for their stockholders, and they employ people. But in a time when we are all so cash strapped, budget conscious, most of us, I would venture to say almost all of us, the marketing can be so relentless and so tempting, and I find that maybe it's my imagination, but it just seems to be ramped up even more this year because during the years of the pandemic and lockdowns, these retailers suffered. The bricks and mortars, especially storefront retailers, suffered. And so now this is their opportunity to try and get some of those profits back, and they are competing against these online retailers that didn't suffer so much during the pandemonium. And so the marketing is so much more aggressive. It starts so much earlier, and from what I can see, the deals aren't that great. It's not the same as it was in past years because everything is more expensive for the manufacturers as well, and for the suppliers and the supply chain, excuse me, and the stores. So we are facing a time when our dollar is buying us a hell of a lot less. Retailers are not able or willing to mark down things as much as they would have in past years. And yet there's still that frenzy to get us to buy. So anyways, I just find that so interesting because we go from, like I say, a day of being thankful for everything that we have to a day of feeling like we are lacking and we must buy. For me, I will do some shopping online for my kids, but I don't buy gifts for my friends. We do experiences, we spend time together, and I don't allow anybody to buy me a gift because I don't need anything. Certainly the tiny house has limited space, so there's not a lot of space to put new stuff. So I find that I would rather spend time with people. But I will purchase some things that I was going to buy anyways, or I was considering buying if the price was right at this time of year, because you can still get a better price. I don't think you're getting screaming deals on a lot of things anymore, but I think you can get deals, better price. But I just think we all need to be aware of how predatory these marketing campaigns are. Like, again, this is just my opinion, my feelings on that topic. The fact that, Black Friday and Boxing Day have devolved into these weeks-long, months-long periods of companies marketing to us to make sure that we make sure that we believe that what we have is not enough, that everything is a limited time deal, that if we don't spend the money now, we'll never be able to get that product, and that somehow that thing is going to make our lives better. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. I read a quote the other day that said, as I get older, the term paid off becomes much more attractive to me than the term brand new. And I like that a lot. And what I really don't want for myself or anybody is that period of regret that comes after, when you see your credit card balance, when you see your bank balance. Maybe I am unique in my thoughts on this. It's, again, not that I think buying things is bad. I just find that this time of year makes me frustrated because instead of focusing on the holidays the people were bombarded with marketing, advertisements, pressure. This is just my opinion on this whole thing, but this time of year is it's my favorite time of year because it's so beautiful, and I love the holidays. Even though I'm not a big gift person, I've always loved Christmas and, decorating for it and baking and spending time with friends and family if I can. And I love giving gifts to my kids, and that will never change. And when I have grandbabies, I will give gifts to them as well. But the holidays are not about the gifts. If gifts didn't exist, would we still be having a good time? And would we still be with the people that we love the most, whether they're family or friends? Would we still be eating, great food and telling old stories that are making us laugh? That is what this time of year should be about. And, that is what I'm going to keep in my mind going forward, and just be very intentional about where I'm spending my money, and be very aware of how I'm being manipulated by these marketing campaigns, and make sure that every decision I make is one that is right for me. I don't know, guys. Did that make any sense at all to you? I am just rambling, having my first cup of coffee today. Oh yes, Sophie. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to turn the camera on and I'm going to have a chat with you guys because I wanted to talk to somebody about it, and you're my favorite people to talk to. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. Sophie actually did not have a very good week. She was sick this week, some sort of a tummy bug, and she was throwing up for a couple of days. She was still drinking and going to her litter box, but she did not want to eat for a couple of days. And animals are really good with knowing what they should and shouldn't do when they're sick. So I did not force her. I just let her have water for a couple of days. I did call the vet, but as long as she was drinking and she wasn't, she was sleeping a lot, but her tummy wasn't good. And so she was basically just hacking up bile. Sorry if that's gross, because she wasn't eating anything. But as long as she was drinking, I wasn't as concerned as I could have been. A full 2 days of that. And then the next morning, she was hungry. So I gave her some wet food with a little pumpkin, lots of water, and I did that for that day. And now she's fine. Now, as usual, as soon as I wake up, she is nagging me to get down here and give her some fresh water and food. So she's fine now. But I don't know, at 15, I guess these things happen. So I'm going to switch her to mostly wet food. I have in the past been giving her dry during the day and just a little wet at night. But I'm going to start switching her to mostly wet food. I think that's probably a little easier on her tummy right now. Anyways, so that's the update on Sophie. So guys, let me know your thoughts on this whole Thanksgiving, if you're in the US and Canada, Boxing Day, holidays, media, retail, consumerism, feeding frenzy. Let me know if there is something equivalent in your country. If you are not in Canada and the US, do you guys have a Black Friday or a Boxing Day or something like that? And what is it like there? How do you deal with that? I would love to hear that, because this is a discussion that I think deserves to be had, because I find this so fascinating, and it's bothered me for years. But it just seems to be especially worse this year, because now that the pandemic is over and people are going back into stores, and the online retail market is so huge, it's relentless. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. I love you, and I'll see you next time.